Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Last Slice podcast. This is Jimbo the Kid. Make sure to check out our social media accounts. We're on Instagram at the Last Slice podcast. We're on Facebook at the Last Slice. We're on Twitter at the Last Slice with 2 E's. Enjoy the show.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Welcome back to another episode of the Last Slice podcast. It's your boy Jimbo the Kid, and we have a very special co-host here. We have Scagz from Two Do Men. Thank you for allowing me to be here. I am studioless. I feel homeless. Thank you for having us right now. Trill Boy is in Miami. I don't know. He said he was meeting up with 2 Colombians. Don't know what that meant, but, you know. And then Bodega Cat has the Delta variant, I think, or maybe the Echo variant. I don't know what he has. Nah, he's sick. He's out under the weather, so... speedy recovery. Thank you for doing this. Appreciate it.
Yes, anytime.
All right.
I thank you for having me again. And,
yeah.
You know, I'm willing to help anytime.
Thank you for having us, right?
Yes.
All right. So first and foremost, I want to talk about on the way up here, the traffic was absolutely crazy.
Again.
It's Sunday, going north traffic, which you would think Sundays be a little bit
quiet.
Yeah, no.
I feel like the last couple times you've come up here, the traffic has been insane. You have like
the worst luck.
Like bad luck. Yeah,
it's the worst luck. And then on the way up here, I was looking at, I was like telling myself so we're very far from the city, thank God. But on the way up here, you see these signs like, oh, we support our local police. You know, we support Trump 2024. You know, Biden, this and that, blah blah blah. Like, what are you trying to prove? Like, do you want someone to pull over, knock on the door, and be like, you know what? I agree with you.
Right. That's not going to happen.
Right?
Yeah.
So what are you trying to prove? Because I want to just rip them off and be like, you know, fuck, this is bullshit.
You know what that is, dude? That's virtue signaling, like, out in the real world.
Right?
Like on your lawn, people are virtue signaling, like, yes, I'm a MAGA Trump person. So let me put a sign out on my lawn to virtue signal to other Trump people. This house... Trump people live there.
Yeah,
Good
yeah.
People, you know what I mean?
Biden? Oh, yeah.
Right. That
Biden.
person's, very inclusive and not racist. That person's not a Nazi. That's the way people are think.
And then, like,
subconsciously even, maybe.
And then this is how divided the country is, though. That proves how divided this country is where you have to put a sign in your lawn like, yep, we support our local law enforcement. We support Biden. We support Trump. And I'm over here like, you know what I'm going to do when I buy my house?
What's that?
Support our local drug dealer.
Okay.
Just why not?
How are you going to do that? You going to have him over for dinner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, hey, if this guy's doing a great service to this town, why not?
I always thought of...
he's got good marijuana.
I mean, I don't know how feasible it is to want to invite a drug dealer into your home, but for the drug dealer itself, it'd probably make more sense if they, like, came all the way into your house and sat down for, like, 10, 15 minutes and did it that way.
Yeah.
Because the fact that drug dealers are always like driving around, stopping in the middle of the street, doing something on the street. They're getting followed around, and that's how the cops figure out that they're selling drugs. If you like are just going to people's houses and visiting, a little bit less, conspicuous, I guess you could say.
Exactly, right? You can use that sign as like, maybe law enforcement, wouldn't think anything about it. So
maybe.
That's what I'm going to do. That's my first thing. I'm going to buy a sign.
Okay, well, your priorities are in the right, or your heart's in the right place. Let's put it that way. Trying to help the essential workers of the economy.
Why not? No, we got to help the little guys out. But so you told us about TikTok, and you're like, hey, listen, it's a perfect application for people to view your stuff,
right?
To do promos, funny stuff. And then you told me yesterday about your situation already on TikTok that you were banned for 24 hours.
Yeah.
Okay,
so. It's funny because we didn't do anything as usual. That was, violating the community guidelines. But I posted 2 videos. One was a video of the Italian Parliament, and I think I sent it to you. You might have seen it. And they were having some meeting about the Green Pass in Italy, and the Green Pass is the vaccine passport. That's just what they call it in Europe. And a lot of people don't want it, obviously. So some members of the parliament protested in the middle of, like, imagine this is like Congress. In the middle of Congress, a bunch of people. One guy holds up a sign that says "No green pass," and like security tries to take it away from him. So he like dodges the guy, runs out of the room, and then like 20, 30 other members of parliament walk down the aisle with the signs, and that's it. That's the whole. That's the whole extent of the video.
And why did they think that was? You actually have the.
Yeah, I'll bring it up here for you because it's still
letter.
I'm under appeal here, with the TikTok court. And community guidelines violation. If I go to it, it says violent and graphic content. We do not allow content that is excessively gruesome or shocking, especially that promotes or glorifies abject violence or suffering. We do allow exceptions for certain circumstances. For example, content that is newsworthy or meant to raise awareness about issues. When we identify genuine risk of violence or threat to public safety, we ban the account and work with relevant legal authorities, blah, 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 blah. What's funny is that a video of Italian parliament members protesting a vaccine passport, that's violent or graphic content.
Yeah.
That's newsworthy material, and that's why I posted it. Me and Chris talk about the news.
To bring awareness, like it states.
And that literally says it right here
right
in the explanation. I appealed it. It says appealed received. I appealed it now 3 or 4 days ago. Haven't heard anything since. What's annoying is that this video that I posted was going viral. I had almost 10,000 views on it already, 2,146 likes. So that's something that struck a nerve with people, right? And that's why I made this TikTok, which I was against for the longest time, to be like, here's a place that you post a video and people just see it. They don't have to be following you. They don't have to be your friend or anything. It'll just show up in the feed. So the feed's more natural, like exposing people to stuff that maybe they should see, especially when it comes to...
Or they're interested in, because that's what creates the algorithm. Because if you're more attention to it, and when you're watching it, the algorithm realizes that, and then they push it more.
Right.
Because it's like you said, it's a natural thing for the video to be seen by everybody. So the fact that they're just doing that, and then what was the second video, which is great.
This is funny. So the second video was yesterday. Me and Chris, we went to the shooting range because we're going to review a couple of new guns for the podcast. We review stuff, and I made a video, slow motion videos of us just shooting the guns at the range, and I put like range day in the video. And it says this video violates community guidelines for illegal activities and regulated goods. We prohibit the trade, sale, promotion, and use of certain regulated goods, as well as the depiction or promotion of criminal activities. Blah, 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 blah. What? We weren't selling anything. We weren't promoting anything besides the fact that we're reviewing a gun.
Yeah.
And it wasn't illegal. These are all legal weapons on a range, completely legal.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is more of like this retarded, like social media.
So this is why
stuff.
I wanted to this is what I wanted to talk about today. Is like censorship right now is at an all-time high, and it's just not going to get any better. It's just it's free falling out of control, because once they started with Alex Jones and everybody's. I had a conversation with my coworker about this, and he was saying, well, Alex Jones was like giving misinformation about certain things. Like, when do you stop that?
Was it?
But when do you stop that? So in his sense, he's saying some crazy stuff. When do we put an end to that? Which I agree. But then I turned around and I said, well, if you do believe in freedom of speech, it is absolute. It is completely absolute.
Yeah, I agree.
So you might not agree with him. You might disagree with him, and your opinion, you might not think highly of the individual, but at the same time, he has the right to be saying that. If he's not saying hateful speech, if he's not telling people, go beat this person up,
right,
then it's different.
Right.
But if he's saying frogs are gay,
right,
he can say it.
Why is that bannable?
Yeah.
Yeah, the difference, I believe also in freedom of speech being absolute, except for things like doxing somebody, which is like putting their address, their house address out for people to...
criminal intent.
Right, or saying, like, you should go and kill this person, or I want to fucking, destroy this person. So, you shouldn't be, like, directly calling for violence or anything like that. But, like, the frogs are gay. That's, like, the famous thing. Or even, let's say... This was the most controversial thing he probably ever said, and the reason why he got banned from everything was he said that the Sandy Hook shooting was
hoax.
fake or hoax or whatever. Yeah, that's fucked up because it wasn't a hoax and whatnot. And he's since said he was wrong, apologized for it, etc. But that's why he got kicked out of everything. Did he incite any violence though? No, he just said some really disgusting, stupid shit and got it wrong. Should he have taken like societal backlash for it? Yeah, right, as he did. But that doesn't mean you delete him from everything. I mean, he still does a show and whatnot, but he's like blacklisted from everything. Social media, thing. So, and at large here, the bigger point to that is that was the beginning. That was the first domino that fell. He was the first guy to get censored on social media. Before him, people were saying a lot of crazy shit, and no one was getting banned for everything. But because he said this, that was the first step. Then after that, it was like Milo Yiannopoulos. And then, look at where we're at now today. If me or you talk about a drug on this podcast, like we talked about last time,
well, look at that.
Your whole podcast, your whole YouTube channel could be pulled down.
And this is a perfect example because you're posting something that, first of all, guns are legal. Secondly, you bring an awareness to a situation in Italy that's happening.
Right. It was literally the whole reason why I made the TikTok was to bring awareness to stuff that happens in the news that maybe people are not exposed to. I literally get an instance where that is happening. I'm like, oh, look, this is something people don't know is probably going on. Let me post it up there. Post it up there, removed.
Yeah. And it's like I want to know who is. Maybe this is the algorithm working. So. I think because it's such big in like. The way how many people are using TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. There's so many people that they'll get it wrong, and then if you appeal it, but this is the thing: if you don't get your appeal answered,
right? It's been like 4 days.
Now it's like, all right, so now we're just censoring, and then that's it. It's like fuck you. We're gonna take your stuff down and then put your hands up and walk away. That's what they're doing, essentially.
Yeah. So you're right. Like it definitely is managed at scale, right? And there's like probably an AI or an algorithm or whatever that is looking for certain things to remove them. But that algorithm is programmed by human beings who have like natural biases and, they could be corrupted. So that specific video is extremely suspicious to me because it's showing government officials protesting a vaccine passport. Is their algorithm, TikTok's algorithm, maybe programmed to remove any video showing backlash against vaccine passports? Maybe, right? I appealed it. It's been like 4 days. I haven't heard anything back. This was going viral. Does it have something to do with it too? Maybe if nobody saw the video, they wouldn't have cared. But like, oh, look, vaccine passport pushback, video going viral. That's pre-programmed for the algorithm to stop that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where do we go from here? It
only gets worse.
It's going to get worse.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, as they say.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because there's so many things that are on Facebook, YouTube that you're just looking at. It's like, well, this is okay, right? Like certain things that are being posted up is like, well, this is fine, but you're going to attack people with, the vaccine information, disinformation, like everything. You can't even mention the vaccine without that little ticker coming up on the bottom of like Facebook saying, oh, you want more information. What was that? What did I send you a couple of weeks ago? And on the bottom it was like, Joe Biden with unemployment and inflation. I'm sorry. It was a meme about inflation since Joe Biden's been in office, and it was like gas prices are up, this and that, right? And on the bottom of it, it says it was a PolitiFact check on the bottom, and it said yes. Most of this is true, but this and that. And it's like, whoa.
It said it was like out of context or something.
Yeah, it's out of context, but it's like, so you're basically saying this is true.
Right.
But
If you actually clicked on that, I remember it brought you to like a fact check website. And it's like, well, and the explanation was like, well, yes, prices and inflation has gone up while Joe Biden is president. Some bullshit excuse as to why there was a fact check. So like the fact check admitted that the meme was right, but they put a disclaimer to try and make people think that it was wrong. And then when you go look at the description in the website, it tells you that basically, inflation's going up.
Yeah, like this is real.
Right.
This is true.
So I've seen people make.
So what is this? I'm sorry, but like, what is this? A speed bump? Are you trying to slow something down? It's a speed bump, basically.
What you're trying to do. Government control of the narrative and of pushing their agenda. Because I was just going to say, go put up on. We should actually probably do a test of this, right? Let's make a post saying we never went to the moon. the whole Apollo thing was completely faked. Neil Armstrong never worked on the moon. Neil Armstrong's in our opening, credits for the thing.
Yeah.
It's complete horseshit, never happened, etc. There's not going to be no fact check or misinformation thing on there. Why? Because they don't care about that. That they're the only things that are being fact checked or whatever or verified are like political stuff and things that go against the government, things that go against the COVID, because that's become political for some reason now. So it's not like there's no principle behind all this shit. It's not like someone, at Facebook or YouTube or whatever is like, we need to make sure that everything that's on our platform in regards to everything should be true. Because why? Because we should put true information out there. No. It's only the stuff that they agree with. They don't give a shit about the moon landing stuff, or if you put the earth is flat. How many flat earth fucking videos are out there? Do you see any misinformation stuff on that?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like they're picking and choosing what they want to be true, and they're trying. It's like a speed bump. It's just like they want to slow down what they deem as misinformation.
Right.
And then you have people who believe in all this stuff. Like, they, especially with the whole, and we'll get into this now. We'll go into the vaccines. If you're vaccinated, you have to wear a mask now.
Yeah.
Right.
The new guidance from the
So
CDC.
that's the new, and then now New York state and city employees have to be vaccinated by their employers, which I commend you guys, you and Cap, we miss you. You guys literally said this months ago, maybe even last year, that they're going to go so out of touch and out of reach of their jurisdiction that they're going to, now the employers are going to have to make their employees become vaccinated, or else you get fired.
Right.
And you guys said that months ago.
Yeah.
And now look at what happened this week.
What's happening is the government knows, for the most part, they know what they can and can't get away with. So, in America, public and private are supposed to be separate. The government can't tell, companies, et cetera, what to do without passing like official law, et cetera. That's like the system we've agreed to. But what's happened is they've basically given instructions and guidance to Facebook or to major corporations, Netflix, Google, et cetera. And if you think I'm making this shit up, you could just go to Jen Psaki. She had a press conference a few weeks ago or days ago where she said that they were marking stuff for Facebook about like misinformation and whatnot. Well, hold on. You just admitted to me that it's not, there's no boundary anymore between public and private. If you're marking stuff on Facebook for Facebook, giving them guidance on how to, make policy on social media, the public-private thing has been it's gone. It's dissolved. You're just telling them what to do. And maybe it's not as official as like the government just took over Facebook, but they have their ear and they're listening. So if it, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, it is a duck. I don't even know. Is that the right?
No, yeah, you're
thing?
right. You're right on that. Yeah.
So same thing with the vaccines. I think it just came out that like Netflix, Google, et cetera, right, are gonna, fire people basically if they don't get the vaccine. You mean to tell me like that the government don't have the ear of somebody at those corporations told them like, we need to get more people vaccinated, so you guys need to mandate this. And those huge companies employ a lot of people, so that's a huge chunk of people right there. They also set like the corporate trend. So once those big corporations, do that, little corporations will be like, oh, okay, Netflix is doing it, I guess we should do it too. Where does it all trace back to? The government telling, forcing you basically, or telling you what to do, which is not American whatsoever.
And then now the NFL came out with that if a player, an unvaccinated player, gets the virus and there's an outbreak, he can face severe consequences from the league, and potentially he has to forfeit his salary or whatever the case is. It's like something crazy.
Yeah, I know what the penalties are crazy for.
And it's why? Like, why? Really, this is where we're going.
Yeah.
Is that now it's like you need to be, and you're making people feel bad for the decision of not taking. It's their choice. So you're removing people's liberties right before them, and you expect people not to be upset about it. It's like, you need to fall in line and follow what we're telling you to do because it's for the best interest for the public.
Right, and if you don't fall in line, you're a Nazi, you're anti-vax, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, right? It doesn't even matter if you're white. You don't even have to be white to be a white supremacist. It's like, what the fuck? They've created a narrative and then they've taken like bulletproof words or ideals and use them to shield the narrative, so that there's no way you can't question this narrative whatsoever. You get pulled down from YouTube. You'll violate community guidelines. With the NFL, it's crazy because that's such an insane social pressure campaign that they've put on the players. The rules are, if you choose to not get vaccinated, fine. If you come down with COVID and you infect the team and you cause the game, like now the game can't be played because a lot of people have been sick, your team has to forfeit the game, and everyone forfeits their game checks. Not only your team, but the other team as well. So the other team has nothing to do with you being sick and infecting your team. They get the win, you get the loss, but everybody loses their pay. What's the goal behind that? Social pressure. Now, some of the players who decided to get vaccinated are going to be like, yo, you're going to put my money at risk here? Some of these players make, like Tom Brady, $20-30 million a year. Does he really give a shit about one game check? Yeah, but not really.
Yeah.
Someone who makes $1 million and, one game check is like a huge chunk of that money. Maybe it's like $300,000.
Well, there's people who are making $500,000 a year playing in the NFL. They're making minimum payment, you know. So it's,
think of the social pressure now. Like there's definitely conversations being had amongst all the players. Maybe some of them are like, you know what, I respect your right to decide, and I don't care about losing the money or whatnot. Good for them. But some of them are definitely like, yo, you're putting my livelihood on the line here. That's all by design. That's not an accident. You know what I mean? They're one of the craziest things with the NFL. I saw the Steelers are going to be giving people yellow wristbands that are not vaccinated, and I was like,
on the team?
On the team. Players on the team that are not vaccinated have to wear yellow wristbands. And I was like, you remember when, like, a month ago, people were saying how, what's next? The yellow armbands for people, like the Nazis did to the Jews back then, and people are like, oh, you can't make that comparison. I think it was Gina Carano maybe made a similar comparison about that. What's like,
here you go. It's happening.
Yellow, literally, it was the yellow star or whatever that they made. And look, a yellow wristband. Are the Steelers trying to be Nazis? No, but look, there it is, right in front of your face. And Gina Carano was kicked out of Disney for making that comparison. But look, it's just like Alex Jones, right? How he said a lot of crazy shit, but then some of that shit comes true.
Yeah. So it's like it's insane. It's just our liberties. That's why it's just so important. It's our liberties, because I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you get it, but I get it a lot, where people look at you like differently because you're not vaccinated. Like, well, what's wrong with you? Like, are you, they might think you're a Trump supporter, or you're I don't like Trump. I never voted for Trump ever. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't care politically. Like, that doesn't make sense. I just don't trust a vaccine that takes years. Okay, you remember I sent you that the link for the video for NBC, the hit piece that they made for the healthcare workers, the nurses that refuse to get the vaccines, and they're stating valid points, and they're still saying, well, the facts says that what you're saying is wrong. It's like, no, your facts is like way off, and who knows? It's supposed to be freedom of choice. Free choice. Yeah. That's what we're founded on. That's why we have the Bill of Rights. That's why we have certain things in order to make sure that we can do what we want within the guidelines of not being, going out committing crimes and whatever happened to HIPAA, right?
Right.
That's all out the window now, right?
Apparently that doesn't count
anymore.
For the vaccine.
Especially with New York and New York's, the state and city. Now with the workers, they have to be vaccinated.
You sent a meme about, or it might have been you, or someone sent a meme about some of the like nurses that don't want to get vaccinated, and they were like, they had signs, and they were like, last year we were the heroes of the pandemic. Now we're like the outcasts, anti-vax, persecuted because we just don't choose. You know what I mean? It's like, well, you don't care about those people anymore?
Yeah.
They did go through a lot of shit during the pandemic. Yeah. But just because they choose not to get a vaccine, come on. It's the whole thing is very odd, man. It's more of like a social pressure, I think comply or else sort of thing than it is about the vaccine. And again, we're not doctors, YouTube, right? So I'm not giving anybody advice or anything. My thing has always been like, it's up to you. If you want to go get vaccinated, great, do it. I support you. But I'm not going to tell anyone to do that, nor am I going to tell them not to. And other people should treat me and you that same way.
Yeah.
Let's look up here, actually. Is HIPAA, right? It's HIPAA?
Yes.
In effect for the vaccine right? But HIPAA is like the privacy.
Yeah, so it's an actual law stating that your medical history is private. You wish to. That's why the doctors, if you're in the office still, if you're with someone, they'll ask them, hey, do you want them inside or can they step out? After you're 18, when I went into a regular checkup, they asked if it's all right if we can talk in front of my mom. And that's my mother, but I was 18, so that was my, my choice to be like, yeah, my mom can stay in here, of course. Some people could be like, no, I want my mom out of here because you want to talk about, because it's your privacy. So whatever happened to that? Because vaccination is a health thing. So what happens? How does that work? How does that work? How are we going to get away with that?
I don't know. So according to HIPAAjournal.com, vaccination information is classed as PHI and is covered by the HIPAA rules. However, HIPAA only applies to HIPAA-covered entities, healthcare providers, health plans, and healthcare clearinghouses, and their business associates. If an employer asks an employee to provide proof that they have been vaccinated in order to allow that individual to work without wearing a face mask, this is not a HIPAA violation, as HIPAA does not apply to most employers. So it's really not, I guess you could say. I don't know, dude. That's fucked, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
so fucked up.
Isn't that so fucked? And what's crazy about that too is, listen, say what you want. This is not misinformation, but the vaccine is still under emergency use authorization only. It's not 100% FDA approved. So, if they're going to start firing people for not taking a vaccine, that's still not once it's FDA approved, I'll have a different conversation about this, right? But it's still not. You're going to fire people for not taking a drug that's not FDA approved, and the makers are liability shielded from it. So there's no recourse for you if something goes wrong for you. If you have an allergic reaction or whatever, things could happen. I'm not saying they are going to happen. I'm not saying I know anything. I'm an idiot. But there's documented proof that some people just have reactions to shit. And your job forced you to take that, and now let's say you're sick for weeks and you can't go back to work because you're sick and you lose out on all that pay. Well, now what?
That sucks to be you.
Sucks to be you,
That's exactly what it is. Sucks to be you.
Right.
And we're not responsible for it.
You can't sue the vaccine maker because they have liability. I don't know what the rules are.
How about this? What about if it messes with your fertility? What about in the future you can't have kids? Because this is not a tested drug. Usually vaccines take about 10 to 15 years, even more, for them to do research to make sure that this is what we should use.
Right. Well, the mRNA vaccine has been, I guess, around for a decent amount of time, but COVID-19 hasn't been around for a decent amount of time, right? So yeah, that's the way I look at it. This is my personal view of I'm a wait and see guy. It's not that I don't believe in vaccines, I do, but I'd like to wait and see. Let everybody else be the guinea pig. As selfish as that going to sound, hey, I care about myself and I care about my family, right? Yeah. There's a lot of people out there right now who have put in they act like they're putting the collective, the well-being of the collective above the well-being of themselves. But that's horseshit, because yourself, what's more important than yourself, honestly? Yeah. As a collective, you should be the most, you know what I mean? Everybody should think of themselves as the most important thing, and that should be the collective. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's not on you to tell me what to do. I don't know.
I'm the same too. It's I believe in vaccines. However, I'm going to see what happens in the future to see if it's okay, because things could go wrong. That's the way I see it. Is I'm not trying to be negative about it. I want to be optimistic about it. However, there are sometimes things happen, and I just don't want to rush into things, because I'm not going to put a needle in my arm if the Johnson & Johnson, who's blood clots were happening and all that stuff. And my thing is that I remember when New York City got hit, it was the epicenter of this whole virus. Yeah. And I remember seeing the fucking refrigerated trucks, and they were putting dead bodies in it because of the COVID, outbreak. So I know that this is real. And there was a lot of people, and I've met people that were like, this virus is not real. Because, you live in Texas. You live in middle America. Right, it hasn't reached you yet. So You can't make that assumption. And then now look, life smacked you right in the face because everybody went into shutdown because it spread you, whatever. So I know that the virus is real. I'm just not going to just jump to getting a vaccine because social pressure. Not happening.
Right.
Like, I'm just that type of person.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Oh, you need to do this. I've always been like that. No. Why? I'll ask questions. Why?
Yeah, I'm the same way. And then I'm right. Like, I don't give in easily to a social pressure for something. And then honestly, me personally, like, the more someone tries to, or a group tries to social pressure me, the more I push back.
Yes.
It's just like a natural thing for me, right? Like, no, now that you're pushing so hard, you're only going to push, you're pushing so hard, you're pushing me further.
It's like a
away.
magnet. Yeah.
If you just stopped, leave me alone, let me do my own research, let me figure things out on my own, I'll be more willing to do the thing you want me to do. But the fact that you keep trying to force me to do something makes me more unwilling to do that thing, because now I'm questioning your motives. Why are you why are you pushing so hard? And then, I mean, if you just look at the whole situation, just fucking common sense. There's just so many odd things about everything. The liability shield, the fact that they're paying people to get it. There's just so many things.
New York City is now giving $100 for a vaccine.
Look,
so I think that what I plan to do is to visit each site and just get the vaccine over and over again, and just walk out with all these cards.
You'll be
these
super.
$100
You'll be supercharged.
Yeah, I'll have it like a Twitch, but it's fine. I mean, I'll be rich. If they're gonna hand out money like that, why not? I'll be the
You'll be like an air purifier, bro. Anywhere you go, you just breathe in COVID, and it comes out of you clean because you're so vaccinated.
Yeah,
you just kill COVID everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I understand that the vaccine's not supposed to cure COVID. It's supposed to help fight the virus.
Yeah.
So you're susceptible to getting the virus again. I understand that. And anybody who understands how a vaccine works understands that. It's just there's a different motive as to why the government and the states and the cities are pushing all this stuff. And I really honestly think it's because of the private corporations like Big Pharma behind it, where they are pushing this because they're getting government contracts, which is a lot of money. And everyone's making money off this.
Yeah.
Whoever's involved, whoever's pushing for all this is definitely getting a kickback.
Right.
And you're not going to find out about it.
Right.
They're giving the kickbacks to their charities, to, re-election, their campaigns. Let's be real. There's something sketchy about why there's only 3 big pharma companies behind the vaccine, and we've talked about this before. But I really think that there's a reason as to why they're just jamming this down people's throats.
It's money.
And
Big Pharma has a
a
lot of influence over Congress, over the government, and and the government likes that because Big Pharma has a lot of money, and they could fund their campaigns. They could give them jobs in their lobby afterwards, or in the company, give speeches, etc. So one hand washes the other, bro.
Yeah.
That's why they're pushing so hard. And then when you think about it, like, you're like me and you don't go and buy the vaccine right now, and if anything, they're giving away money. Our tax dollars is paying for it. So it's almost like the Big Pharma made a product that was in demand, right, because of the pandemic, and they have a guaranteed buyer that's going to spend unlimited amounts of money in order to buy that product. The government is the one that's buying all the vaccines right now. So it's like, not only did we, the taxpayer, fund the research and development of the vaccine, because we did, right, for all these companies. So we paid for the research and development. Now they produce the vaccine and they sell it back to us, and we pay for it again through our tax. It's a great wealth transfer scheme.
Yeah.
And that's a sign. That doesn't mean that the pandemic's not real, or the vaccine doesn't work, or COVID's not real. It's just they've made a method of, we paid for the product, and then they sell us the product back, and we have to pay for it again. You're paying for something.
You know what that's called, right? It's called capitalism.
Oh, no, that's not capitalism, bro.
No, but
that's
they're
not
using
capitalism.
it to capitalize on the situation of that there's a pandemic, and it's all about supply and demand. That's
not capitalism. That's corporatism, dude.
It's corporate capitalism, but
It's not capitalism. That's something.
But you
I have
understand
to
what I'm
start-
saying, though.
Yeah, I understand.
You understand
what you're saying,
that this is what they want to make it seem is that it's capitalism, because it's all capitalism for the poor, and they want socialism for the rich, and we see it countless times. And this is one of those things where there's these loopholes and schemes and the lobbying and all. That's where all the money's being filtrated through, and we're the suckers because there's people who believe in all this stuff.
Yeah. What I was trying to push back on it's not capitalism because it's not. And also one thing I've come to learn lately is like capitalism has become like a dirty word because of all this fucked up shit that's happening in terms of like corruption and the government and all this stuff. So they like to use capitalism as a dirty word to further goals of like socialism and stuff like that. This is corporatism. Corporatism is basically where corporations are so powerful, they're in the pockets of the government and the government's in the pockets of them, and they do, everything, they lobby the government to do everything that benefits them. That's not capitalism. Capitalism is free market, supply and demand. There's a pandemic, people need a vaccine, company spends money, develops a vaccine. Why? Because there's a demand, a pandemic, people need to be vaccinated. Company sells vaccine, makes profit. The government should not be involved in the process whatsoever. Corporatism is something happens, corporations stands to profit off of it tremendously. Government says, oh, look, we can work together with you on this, and we'll help make sure that you guaranteed profit off this. They eliminate the risk. Capitalism has a risk of failure, right? And I think me and you have spoken about this before. Like recently in the past 20 years, like they've eliminated the risk of failure. In 2008, 2009, they bailed out the banks, they bailed out the airlines. That's not capitalism. Capitalism is you fucking fail. You fuck up, the economy goes wrong, something happens, some external crazy shit happens and it affects your business. Hey, that's what happens. And the law of supply and demand will fix that in the long run, right? If the pandemic happened and people weren't traveling with airlines, right? The government went and bailed out all the airlines, gave them all this money. Because the demand for flying went down because people were scared of getting sick, etc. So in reality, Delta going out of business, man. Sorry, nothing we could do. A pandemic happened. Well, pandemic's over years from now. People want to fly places again. What are they going to do? Sprout wings and fly? No. They're going to need airplanes. They're going to need another airline company. What's going to happen? Someone's going to fucking create another airline company and start providing the flights again. Yeah. And that's how it goes. They'll hire people. Those people will make money, etc. Law of supply and demand.
And it was funny because once Delta and American Airlines received that money from the government, then they were just like, oh, we need to do layoffs. They were contemplating about laying off about like 60,000 workers. But where were you? Where was the money being spent? You were getting... what, government subsidies? That's what it was. Right. They were trying to help you guys out. They gave you a shit ton of money, and then all of a sudden now you have to do layoffs of 60. That was the only stipulation was we're going to give you the money, but you can't lay anybody off. And what happened? They got the money, and then they were contemplating, and then they started laying people off.
Right.
How did they get away with it, though?
Who's going to hold them accountable?
So here's
that
the thing.
Same government that they're in bed with?
Yeah, in 2008, with all that stuff that happened, only one person went to jail. So in
Bernie
theory,
Madoff, right?
No, it was somebody else. It was just one person, just was the fall guy, and he went to jail.
Yeah.
But with the whole 2008 thing, the government basically was like, all right, Lehman Brothers, we're going to have to let you go. You're the only one who has to go down because you're the one, the defaults came in and everything's tanking. So you got to go. You got to be the one to go down. And that's exactly what the government did. We're like, you got to be the one to go down. You guys, we're going to pump in, give you cash injections, and, you guys are going to survive this, and we're going to give you a shit ton of money. No. If Lehman falls, let them fall. If there's any backlash of them falling, hey, let it happen.
Right.
It has to happen for people to learn their lesson.
Yep.
Right? And then we'll talk about people going to jail. Because instead of one person going to jail, there should have been multiple people.
Course.
All those CEOs and board members should have been responsible. Right. But they weren't. Because the government came in, they put their hands in, and they were like, no. We have the best intentions for the economy. We don't want another Great Depression. But now what you just did was created another bubble, and now we're reaching that bubble.
Yeah,
and
kick the can further down
and then
the
it's
road.
going to be, and then we're just creating bubbles until it bursts, and it's going to be worse than the Great Depression. So
right, you can never get around the fact that there's going to be a period of suck, right? But you could control how bad that suck's going to be, and the more you try and like avoid that, kick it down the road, the worse. It's like a cancer, right? The more you like ignore it and try not to address it, well, it's going to really get you later, right? Because you ignored it all this time. And eventually, we're going to have some sort of, in my opinion, again, I'm not an economist, I'm just an asshole, some sort of economic crash. And it's going to be worse than 2008.
And inflation's getting worse. It's going to get worse. And we keep printing money.
Inflation is only transitory. And there was a study done by Moody's, right? Not some liberal think tank, Moody's. And they were saying how it's just because of the supply shortages because of COVID now that inflation's going up. And once people go back to work, inflation will be all right. This is Moody's, a Wall Street financial analyzer, not some liberal think tank like President Joe Biden said the other day.
Oh, that's what he said.
Because, it's not like Moody's and Wall Street are the biggest contributor to Joe Biden's campaign and probably wrote that entire speech for him, right?
Okay.
So, right, Moody's, not the liberal think tank. We should listen to Moody's. In that situation, I'd probably listen to which probably they were fucked up in their own way, the liberal think tank more than I would Moody's.
And it goes to another area where it's who do you believe?
Oh yeah, that's completely shattered now.
They're all in bed with each other, all of them.
Yeah,
it's all how. So who do you trust? And that's why it's great with. I know Joe Rogan talks about it all the time, like independent journalism, like Crystal and Sagar, and there's Jimmy Dore. I mean, they don't give a shit because nobody's giving them. They're not influenced by money, and they get hit pieces all the time. You can't believe what they're saying. They don't know what they're talking about. It's like. No, I mean, if you really think about what they're talking about, they have good, valid points, and it all stems to one issue, and it's corruption and greed. And how do you address that in a government? Because all governments have it. Mexico's got it. Mexico's
right.
every
almost,
government
human
has
nature.
it.
Just how best can you mitigate it? With
what you think? More regulations because the government's fucking up everything. So
less government.
Less government.
Less government. The more government you make, of course,
That's what I'm saying.
More corruption there is.
With the 2008 situation, there should have been no government. This is what you guys did. Now you have to deal with the outcome. And that's how you solve it. That's literally how you solve it. Yeah. And then we as employers need to figure it out. But there's so much money involved in government and corporations that, and it's all about the investors. It's all about the shareholders.
The bottom line, right? Like I'm pretty big into like stock market stuff, right? And I've kind of like laid back a little bit the past few years. But I remember when I was really heavy into it in 2016, 17, one of the things that frustrated me so much in like trying to day trade and like invest in certain stocks was they'd have their days where they'd like release their numbers, right? And those were always days where like the price of the stock was going to go up or go down. And in the beginning, when I first started trading stocks, so let's use Walmart, for example. Walmart would have their day where they come out with their numbers, like their quarterly earnings or whatever. Yeah. And Walmart made $3 billion in profit this year. Wow. I'm like, holy shit, that's great. I own Walmart stock. My stock's going to go up. And it goes down, right? Why? Oh, they didn't hit estimates. They didn't hit the estimates of, experts were estimating them to have $5 billion in profit. So they only had 3. That's somehow a negative and would drive the price down. So these corporations have become incentivized to not only make a profit, but they have to like quadruple the profit that they made. Like if they don't exponentially grow the profit every time they report earnings, their price goes down. It's not like sustainable. In my opinion, if I make $1 profit, great. I didn't take a loss. I've paid all my bills and I have $1 to show for it. But not them. No, they need to exponentially show more and more profit every time.
So their value goes up.
Right.
Wow. Interesting.
I don't understand how that's like
feasible,
sustainable. Right.
Yeah, because whatever you're making, after everything's said and done, your profit is. If you have a positive instead of being under, you would think that the value would be like, all right, well, they're at least maintaining.
Right, great, right. That should be good. That should be a good thing. That should be a good thing, but that's not. Not only. Forget about that. That's
so for
terrible.
that $3 billion, they have to make like $8 billion for them.
Forget about breaking even with revenue. No, that's terrible. Your stock price is going to crash if you've just broken even. You need to not only make a profit, like I said, but you need to blow out your profit compared to the last profit you made.
So that's why Walmart doesn't allow their employees to go to the bathroom. I understand.
Right.
Yeah. sell.
Amazon, sell, right.
We need you to check out.
What I think that has to do with like speculation and the fact that like Wall Street, like speculating on stocks and like that whole business has become like a cancer on even trading, like stocks and whatnot, because now you have like another industry has spawned over like analyzing the stock market. Like the stock market's a thing, like a gambling casino, which it always has been, always will be. And I guess you could say it used to make a little bit more sense, but now another industry has spawned that just speculates on the gambling.
Yeah.
And they could just make up whatever the fuck they want. Like the speculators could just make up whatever they want. You know, Walmart has to make $10 billion profit. That's what we estimate. And if it doesn't do that, well, you know, it crashes. Mm-hmm. Now you as a speculator can manipulate that. You can set a high target or something, and you could bet, and you know there's no way Walmart's going to make that profit, right? And you could bet against Walmart. Maybe not you, but you go tell people, you know, we remember the whole GameStop thing. Yeah. You could bet against it, and you just have a bunch of rich people just milking the cow up and down. That's it. And you know, normal people that are just
whales.
Like regular,
they have whales that could afford massive bulks of stock,
right? That can move the market themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then the normal people like me and you get caught in the crossfire.
Oh, yeah.
Stuff.
Yeah, I did. That was.
Yeah, I can understand. I got diamond hands, dude. I'm still holding on to my GameStop.
Me too. Oh no, I still have Dogecoin. I have a lot in Dogecoin. So
Me too. Me too.
You know,
I haven't sold one thing from that.
Whole I was like, you know what? I am willing to lose it all.
Every dollar.
Every dollar. I don't care. It's already gone.
Smile. I'll lose it.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that's the thing. We were talking about this with that whole. Me and Scagz were literally just like daytime traders. Yeah, I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. But
you told me that. You're like,
I was so close for buying a pack of cigarettes and just being at my monitors like, what is it? Sell. We gotta sell. We gotta sell. We gotta sell. You know. But yeah, they were saying that that's the whole situation with GameStop and Dogecoin and all this stuff. They were saying that they are going to win no matter what. The whales are going to win. They just, you know what? Hey, if they're just gonna be buying more stock. Right. You know, they're gonna just buy more stock.
Right. They took one on the chin, but in the end, they're gonna adapt. They're gonna still win in the end. So like, yeah, they took one unexpectedly on the chin from the whole Reddit Wall Street bets thing, but they're still gonna win in the end of the day. You know, how do we fix that? I have no idea. How do you make that better?
It's just too big. It's like literally too big to fail. It's too big to fail.
I don't pretend to have the answers for stuff like that either. You mentioned before, like independent media, which I think is great. You mentioned like Crystal and Sagar and Jimmy Dore and etc. And like, they're awesome. They definitely do cover the news unbiasedly and they give like their honest opinion and stuff. But I also feel like they sometimes could be wrong about stuff. And like, the more I've been listening, and I'm not trying, like, you know, who am I to criticize Sagar or Crystal and Sagar, but the more I've been listening to them lately, I do listen to them, and then I listen to like the libertarians also, who am I again? I don't know shit. But I feel like the libertarian economic perspective is correct over like supply and demand, free market, etc. And even Sagar, who's supposed to be like the conservative, I think he's kind of been swayed a little bit maybe by working with Crystal and like Kyle Kalinske and all them, to the point where he's trending into like supporting socialist ideas more. And people's opinions change, right? I actually listened to an old episode of ours that you were on, and I was advocating for how like a mix between socialism and capitalism is the best economy, whatever. I'm like, wow, look at me talking economics like I fucking knew anything, right? And as you go on, you learn more.
Yeah.
Well, not. But my point here is I listened to Crystal and Sagar recently, and they were talking about the inflationary thing too. And Sagar was mentioning how inflation's going up right now because it's really, he was picking like specific like items that the inflation, like the price has gone up exponentially, and he was using car rentals as an example, and he was saying how like the inflation for the car rental market has gone up a lot, and that's making up a huge chunk of the inflation numbers that we're seeing. So he's like, it's really not inflation. It's really like, who cares about like car rentals? Like, that sucks. Yeah, it's not great, but like, it's the overall numbers being influenced by this one thing specifically. Here's the problem. I'm like, again, who am I? I'm not an economist, right? To challenge Sagar's understanding of economics, but just like, at a bare principle understanding of economics, the government is printing an insane amount of money. They're inventing money. The more money you just make, the less valuable the money you already have becomes. So, okay, maybe it is the car rental market, right? But for you to say it has nothing to do with the printing of money and the spending bills, and that they do need to spend more, you're wrong, bro. And I mean, again, criticize Saga, but just it's great because they're authentic and they believe everything that they're saying, and I'm sure Saga admits when he's wrong. I think they were talking about that on that episode too. But it's just like, no, when money is printed, the value of money goes down. I don't care what it's in. Mm-hmm. I heard a libertarian talk about this recently, about how like even the ways that they analyze like inflation can't be 100% trusted because, for example, you have a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, right? And the box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch costs $10 today. The government prints a lot of money to make the cereal becomes more expensive, but you don't want to raise the price because that sucks for your customers, right? So you don't raise the price, but you have a box of Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and it's usually this much Cinnamon Toast Crunch in it. Well, now you put this much, right? Mm-hmm. And that makes up for the difference without changing the price. And nobody really sees that. It doesn't show up on a ledger or in the statistics or in the quarterly reports or whatever. But it happens, right? So it can't even be quantified almost in numbers in a way, but it's happening. Yeah,
No, you're gonna see it. That's why prices are rising. I'm saying I like their show because they attack both sides.
Oh yeah,
they hold them accountable.
Yes, of course. Their show is great.
Yeah.
But don't make me be negative.
No. No, I get what you're saying, but like any other show. Mm-hmm. You can disagree with people and their views, and I catch myself doing that with everything. I'll be like, I don't agree with that, but that's what's good about these platforms, like the podcast, like your show. Their shows, Kyle Kalinski's, Tim Pool, all these shows. It's good because
it's good to get
somebody put it perfectly. It's like, we're supposed to be, you say what your opinion is, I say what my opinion is, and we're all adults that you can come to your own conclusion. Right. And that's what it's supposed to be. And with this back to censorship, they're trying to eliminate that.
Eliminate that, right.
There's a line, and you have to get into that line. There's no other you can't have a different opinion about the vaccines, or else you get a ticker, or else, you can't post something about Italy, with the Green Pass.
You can't.
Because now you're banned. We're going to ban you.
Report the news.
We're going to ban you. Oh, you're shooting guns that's legal in the United States? Banned.
Right.
For what? For what? Because it's not socially acceptable to some people?
By whose measure?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because there is a liberal bias. I'm not liberal, but I can admit that there is. I'm not a conservative. I'm not liberal, but I can see that there is a liberal bias.
It's not even a liberal bias. There's an establishment bias, right? And the establishment will use liberal values as a means to an end. But once those ends are completed, which the ends right now are to eliminate the political opponent.
Let's be real. The establishment leans more liberal than they are behind the liberal shield.
Yeah, right. Because they're using it as a means to an end. Like I said, once they've eliminated their opponent, let's use their opponent as Republicans or the Trump crowd, right? Because most Republicans are even in on the whole thing. Once that's over, once all those people are considered domestic terrorists, and now you have once you could say, oh well, Chris and Mike said this, so now that we consider them domestic terrorists because they spoke about conservative economics, and now we can delete them, put them in jail, get rid of them. But now you have unquestioned rule, like no one can give you an opposing point of view. Okay, well now you could turn your sword and you could point it at the socialists and the liberals and the actual communists who are not using this as some sort of shield, like you're saying. And then you can eliminate them too. And then what do you have at the end of the day? You have like a one-party rule of oligarchs that are in bed with the corporations. That's where we're heading towards. They're just using all that, quote-unquote liberal shit as a shield. Like you're saying, they put the gay pride flag.
They're putting
a
face on the movement. They're just putting this. Hey, listen, we're going to use them to get what we want.
Right, and it's hard to criticize those things because then you sound like a racist or whatever. You hate people when you don't. You're not falling for their shit.
because you're forcing people to take sides.
Right.
Because if you question them, then you're old. They label you as all these things, which labels are absolutely terrible.
And then, like, how do you fight back? You know, like, is someone going to sit down with you and hash it out? No, you've been labeled. And now that's it. You've been stamped with that label. There's no, you know,
coming back from it.
Right. For the
no,
most
there's
part.
no redemption.
Yeah, like, sure, you could do a podcast with people, and then maybe you could change some people's minds, but you still have been labeled by the official narrative.
Yeah, it's just a wild time for sure. But another subject I want to talk about, because we didn't get to talk about it because you were like, oh, there's bigger fish to fry, is the Tokyo Olympics with the whole situation with Simone Biles. Have you covered that yet?
No, not really.
Okay, so I want to say first and foremost that I went on a little bit of a rant when I heard that she forfeited her place. I think she was going for the finals, or her team were in the finals, and she backed out because she said she was having some mental health issues. And I'm going to retract, because I'm not married to my ideas. I'm going to retract what I said, because I didn't have all the
official retraction.
I'm making an official retraction. I was wrong. However, I wasn't completely wrong with some of the things that I said. I basically, this is how the media gets you. They come out with certain things for you to get a reaction out of it. Right. And that's what I did. I just reacted. I was just like, this is bullshit. How can she do this? You know, like, she's just using mental health. Yes, mental health is an issue. I get it. But are we saying mental health, or she just didn't want to do it? You know, there's a fine line where if you're in a competition, that's what competitions are. There's a winner and a loser. I'm not saying, if she doesn't feel comfortable, she's not feeling good about going, because being a gymnast is hard. You can get hurt. You can break your back. You break your neck. You can actually die. So I can understand that. I completely, fully understand that. But when you talk about like social pressure, you know, like there's so many things going on. Well, that's your time to shine as an athlete, right? If you're an athlete, like Michael Jordan played through the flu. You know, he could have just easily been like, you know, I'm sick. I don't want to play. But he played. And that's why he is the GOAT. Right. That's why he is Michael Jordan. And that's certain things like that makes a champion, or makes a caliber athlete like, you know, him.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Right? You're willing to like sacrifice yourself to accomplish.
But you shouldn't have to sacrifice yourself.
But everybody's saying, like, Michael Jordan, he was willing to sacrifice his body in order to accomplish his goal.
Yeah,
that set him apart from.
But it builds character. In my opinion, it builds. You have to push through certain things in life. There's always going to be a winner or loser. You know what I mean? And a lot of people were attacking her, like, oh, you lost us the gold medal because Russia won the gold, and now, you know, the United States is second place. But the whole thing with the media, the media came out and said mental health, but it wasn't mental health. It's basically she has ADHD. Okay, and she takes Ritalin, and Ritalin is technically impossible to get in Japan, because Japan's law trumps Olympic law. So if you're allowed to take Ritalin in the Olympics, you can take it. But if Japan says, hey, you can't find it, or it's technically a little bit illegal
on their land, right?
On their
the
land,
Olympics are on their land, so
you
gotta
can't
go by
get
their
it.
law.
Yeah, so she suffers from ADHD, which she can't focus. And she didn't feel comfortable. She got the twisties, I guess that's what it's called, where you're vertigo, you're just out of, you know, focus, and you could potentially get hurt. See, I didn't have that information. It was basically she just bowed out, like you know, like a quitter, essentially. And that's where I reacted. I said, "This is bullshit." But with, you know, I should have researched. I didn't do it. I was just like basically part of everybody else, is that you just want to react instead of finding out what the truth is. But why not just come out with the truth in the beginning?
Because that doesn't sell.
Exactly. They wanted a reaction
title,
and I fell for it. And I fell for it.
It's, you know, it happens.
And I'm admitted to. I'm admitting to that I was wrong the way I went about it.
Yeah.
But I'm also worried about the culture that we're creating within competitions. That, well, it's not selfish for someone just to back out if they have a mental health crisis. Well, define mental health. If they just have all this social pressure, I mean, that's an athlete. That's what they do. They get social pressure. But it's, like diamonds. When you have pressure, you just create a diamond. Like you have to keep going. You can't just like retract. You can't just be like, oh, I'm out of here. No, as an athlete, you have to be the best of the best. Like and the whole, with the whole Simone Biles things is like, thinking that it was mental health. I was thinking more of like Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson went through a lot of shit, where he was dealing with people who really hated him for the color of his skin.
Right. People were like spiking him when they would slide into.
Not even that. The fucking people who come into the stands,
mental abuse,
calling him the N-word,
abuse,
literally
every day. Remember,
every
baseball
day.
you play like every day, right? You're right. Mentally, he took a lot.
Take him out of Brooklyn. I'm sure that in Brooklyn there was racist people at the time as well.
Of course there was. Yeah, back
take
then.
him out of there.
This was the early 40s, right?
40s, yeah. And take him out of Brooklyn and you take him down south. Imagine the shit.
Oh, forget it. Yeah.
Even in Pennsylvania, imagine the shit that he was hearing on a day-to-day basis. Now imagine him sitting out on a championship because he's like, I can't take it. I can't imagine it. I can't imagine him doing that. Why? Because he's Jackie Robinson. And that's why his numbers retired in the MLB. Is because he stepped up. He did not fucking think about that. He just went through it and he used all that shit and just used it for greatness.
I see what you're saying. Definitely, you're right. He knew what he was doing too. Let's not get it twisted. He knew also him taking all that shit and still showing up every day and being polite and shaking people's hands and playing his ass off was going to expose how fucking stupid everybody who was doing that to him was. And he knew that, right? So that's why he still continued to keep soldiering on. Mm-hmm. And a famous story I heard about Jackie Robinson, the guy's fucking awesome, was that first year, like when he came, when he started playing for the Dodgers, they told him to they knew like, you're going to take a lot of shit this year, bro, like a lot. And we got to think like long term here. I'm just paraphrasing here. I don't remember exactly. I could be fucking the whole thing up, but they told him like, this is what's going to happen, and he understood what was going to happen. He knew it himself. And they were like, you just got to take it on the chin and keep moving this year, because if you freak out and you try and like swing at somebody or fight back, well, then they're going to be like, you see, black people shouldn't be in the league because they don't have
what it takes,
or they're not, like they don't have the manners or something. Mm-hmm. And they're going to use that to scapegoat, they're going to use that to justify their bigotry. So he took all that shit the first year and he got through it and he didn't do anything. He didn't fight back. He didn't yell at people or anything. But the second year, after he proved himself the first year, no, he wasn't taking that shit no more. He started spiking people back. He started drawing back at people because now he earned his place there amongst this, and he exposed how, right. Yeah. He also exposed how stupid their logic was. So he knew what was going on, and you're right. Like it set him apart because he was a tough guy. He was smart. He knew what he was doing, and he knew doing it this way was going to expose how stupid everybody was at the time. Mm-hmm. And not everybody was stupid and hurtful and hateful. There was good people there too, of course, but majority of people at that time were, and we're better for it now because of a person like Jackie Robinson. Mm-hmm. He exposed how stupid, that whole thinking and like that whole culture was. Yeah.
And I'm just saying, with the way sports is going right now, about, well, it's okay that we came in second place. It's all right. It's okay. It is what it is. It's like, no, that's not the point. Mm-hmm. Like the Olympics, that's not the point. The Olympics means that we have these top tier athletes competing from our country and trying to be the best of the best because we are the best country. I mean, obviously.
It's weird, right? Because like the nature of sports is competition. So for us to like nurture an anti-competitive nature in competition doesn't make any sense. It's like, well, you only compete in the Olympics because you want to win and you want to compete. If you like nurture a culture of like, it's okay to finish in second place. Like, and what's the point of having the competition?
And I'm not saying, sacrifice your body for your country. I'm not saying that. I'm saying because like I told you on the Facebook post, Russia, if it was mental health for whatever reason, because it's a broad meaning for mental health. They didn't specify that she had ADHD. It's basically they made it seem as if she just bowed out because she just didn't want to do it.
That's misinformation. Where was the fact checks and the disclaimers for that stuff?
Yes. Right.
Yeah.
Essentially, right?
Yes.
Because in my head, I'm like, oh, she just fucking quit.
Right.
That's it. She just quit. For what reason? Because she just want to? That's my impression that I first got when I read the article. But there is a route that we're going. Because then also, I forgot which, I don't want to get this wrong, but there was an article that came out. It was like USA placed second in the finals, and Russia won or something like that. And I was like, well, the title should be Russia won the gold after Biles forfeited her position, Because if she did back out, right? Let's say she just backed out because she didn't want to do it, right? She had no reason. She just wanted to back out. Well, shouldn't somebody else take that spot? She's the GOAT. She's the best of the best, yes. But we're here to compete. Like, that's the whole reason behind the Olympics.
Someone didn't take her spot in that competition? Like another American, what is her like sport again that she...
Gymnastics. She does like the whole team where I don't know what specific.
So, but I'm saying like when she decided to back out, someone else on the USA gymnastics team didn't like take her spot. Like,
no, I don't think so. She was just completely out of her
so
spot.
Like the American team wasn't represented in that race that she was.
But she also said that she wanted to back out because of the whole ADHD thing. She wanted to back out because she didn't want to fuck up, her routine, so that her teammates can, do their routine and potentially win gold or win silver. So she didn't want to go fuck up and lose them points, which is a selfless act, and I commend her for that. I just attacked her because of the way everything's going with sports.
Right.
Yeah, just the way everything's going with sports is that we're just, saying, oh, you know what, it is what it is. It's like, no, because if you verse all these other countries, they want to beat us. They're going to beat us no matter what. Oh, Simone Biles backed out? Good. Now I can...
Right.
Capitalize.
They're not going to waste a second to capitalize
and,
on that.
they. So it's like a tricky thing.
It is. One thing I've learned, dude, just doing this podcast, with Chris, over the course of the past year or whatever we've been doing is like all this stuff, all these news stories, like whatever's on the surface is completely bullshit. Yeah. You have to like dig deep, to like find the truth. And then the truth is still, like in your mind, I guess you could say also. And the thing is, like, that takes so much time.
It does.
For every single thing that happens.
I had to watch 4 podcasts to come to that. To find out.
How long were they?
I had long.
Right.
I had long. Really long. And then other articles came out days after that I had to read to understand why she backed out, which is why I retract my statement towards and attacking her for, thinking and assuming, because based off of that one article, that she just quit.
Right.
Because in my mind, that's what I thought. She just quit. She just didn't want to do it.
Right. Like I said, in anything, and not even just this scenario, but for anything, you have to spend so much time to like really understand or dig into what's going on. And who's got time for that? You got a job, you got the podcast, editing, people have kids, people, go to work, they got families to take care of, they got to take out the trash, they got to mow the lawn. Who the fuck has time to like really so in depth analyze every situation? Even me, who does have the time and would do that as part of our podcast, like trying to like really get to the bottom of a news story, it takes a long time, and sometimes I don't even have enough time for that. So if you have a lot of other shit going on, you have even less time, and the media banks on the fact that everybody doesn't have enough time, so they just make up a horseshit story that sounds sexy and will sell. And you do that enough, and you start to drive society fucking crazy, especially with the way that social media works. Media and social media work hand in hand. You can literally drive society crazy, which is what we're seeing today, by pushing certain, clickbait things or making people hate each other. And, how much time does everybody spend on their phone?
Because they just want to sell. They just have to sell. That's it. It's all a subscription-based method. And they want to sell their titles. because the title basically
they'll sell out. They just want to make money. They'll sell money. Out their
instead
country,
of reporting
their people, their beliefs, their anything, just to make money. They
got a
don't
reaction.
care. They don't care. Like if there's riots in the streets and everything's society's going to hell in a handbasket. Well, they made a shit ton of money, and what do we care? I have a whole compound with fortified walls, staff, food, water, secure. Society goes to hell in a handbasket. What do they give a shit? They're ready to. They have enough money to write it out.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at everything nowadays. Right? It's like everybody in charge of all the shit that's like presiding over destruction. They don't give a shit, right? Because they're like raiding the cash registers and running for the exits before the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what do they give a shit?
Yeah.
They already have like their own personal infrastructure built to protect themselves from chaos.
Yeah.
It's
just it's a very unfortunate that we have to start dealing with this, and hopefully it gets better. Hopefully people start waking up and realizing that this is just all a show. This is all there's meaning behind of all these articles, these false articles.
People need to take some personal responsibility though too, and you need to like realize you're being fed shit. And yeah, it sucks, and you don't have a lot of time to like look into stuff, but you need to start trying to take a more nuanced point of view on stuff. Or if you hear this person's a Nazi, well, I mean, what? Yeah, maybe I should like look into it and be like, what's this about? Instead of just being like, oh, what? Joe Rogan's a Nazi? Fuck Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? Like, you need to actually, you can't just take things at face value or the first statement anymore. I don't believe anything I read. Like, I try not to fall into any clickbait shit. Like, even when I'm doing research, I find a website that's covering something, but then I look at like, what's this website about? Who works here? What are they?
Yeah, you ask questions,
right? Like, how are they leaning? Because they have biases. They're all people. It's all. You have to do that for everything.
And also, individuals have to be accountable for the mistakes that they make. Like for me, for instance, with the status I posted up on Facebook, I don't have the status, so I really can't read it. But it was me basically attacking Simone Biles, assuming that she backed out of the Tokyo Olympics on the finals, so like giving up and just quitting basically, essentially. And I just like got triggered, and I just went on a fucking.
You got triggered because it's like America. You were like, yeah, America.
Yeah, because I love where I live and where I'm from, and I want the country to look good in the Olympics, and that's the whole purpose. The whole notion of the Olympics is you have the best of the best of each country, and you're representing the place that you're from, and you should take part in that, right?
I understand.
But I am admitting that I was wrong because I didn't look into, I didn't research what was happening, and I assumed that she quitted. But she didn't. Right. And that's where I feel guilty. And I feel wrong about that. And that's why I want to state it, because I know people watching and they're like, oh, because what happened was that also created another divide. It was like, well, you have people that.
That's how divided society is. Any news story, story will present like a situation that people will then take sides on. And for whatever reason, every single one, there's like, you're either on this side or on that side.
There's no in between. It's either you're with nuance, her or you're not with her. And that's exactly what happened, because people started attacking her like I did in the beginning, and I attacked her. And then I realized, like, oh, shit, there's more to the story. And then you have people who was like, well, her mental health comes first, not, being an athlete, not competing. It's like, I kind of don't agree with that either. Like, what, did she quit? What was the point? Like, why did she back out? And then after realizing that she suffers from some medical condition, then I understood. And I was like, all right, I fucked up. I'm wrong. I just jumped the gun, way too early. But yeah, so that's,
my whole opinion that day that this came out was, who gives a fuck? Because,
you told me, I sent you the article. Yes. I was like, this is fucking unbelievable. And you're like, fuck that. We got way bigger fish to fry.
Because I'm in my own world here, right? And I'm concentrating on like civil liberties and the government overreach and whatnot. And that day that you sent me that article, the day before, Mayor Bill de Blasio was saying how we need basically saying like, the time for voluntary vaccinations over, and we need to start like considering making it mandatory for everybody. The day before that, Governor Cuomo was saying how we need to show up at people's houses, put them in a car, and drive there somewhere to get vaccinated. The same day, the literal same day, Joe Biden says that the federal government's looking into legally how can they make it mandatory for everybody to be vaccinated. So my whole point was like, great, I don't care about Simone Biles and the Olympics and sports. It doesn't mean anything. We have like civil liberties, constitutional crisis going on here at home. Okay, we won a gold medal, great. But at home, you've lost your rights. They're injecting you with non-approved FDA drugs.
Yeah.
It's like, who gives a fuck about Simone Biles? I don't mean that in a bad way, but like in the grand scheme of things, you know.
We got a lot of things to worry
we had
about.
bigger fish to fry. That was my whole point.
You literally were like, who gives a fuck? We got way bigger fish to fry.
I went on the radio that same day, I think, too, in Hartford with Todd Feinberg, and I talked to him about that. And he was like, I get your opinion. He's like, but in the grand scheme of things, it does matter. And he was making the point that you were making, how like we were accepting, like becoming like soft, I guess you could say, in a way. And so like, yeah, I get that too, but it's just sports.
Maybe we're not progressive enough. Maybe because I try to think like, you know, perspective, like in the future, in 20, 30 years, how would I be viewed from my views, right? Like how, because there's people who thought, there's people who thought that it was socially okay to have 2 sinks, 2 water fountains, right? And then now, 50, 60 years later, you know,
right,
it doesn't look good, right? So certain situations, certain issues, how would I be viewed?
Well, you could use that with anything. It used to be socially acceptable to own slaves back in the day.
Yeah, it was completely fine.
And now when we take our own view of like morality and impose it upon those people, of course it's not right. But you know, those people thought it was right. Was it right? No. But you know, we don't have a time machine.
Yeah. So, and then also,
I'm sure in the future, right, people are going to think
with sports, with this whole Simone Biles, like if she did quit or whatever, maybe it's going to be socially acceptable that you know, you could just back out, like you don't want to compete, and it's fine, or you get second, third place, and it's fine, it's okay. There's no, you know, not saying that winning gold is everything. I'm not saying that. I'm saying to compete and to not quit. Like I don't like quitting. I don't believe in quitting. I really don't. I just like I'm very competitive. I've been like that from my whole life. You know, I was always in sports when I was younger. I played in college. I played college cross, and I don't look like it. I know anymore. I'm gonna get back there, but you know, so I've been competitive. I know that there's always going to be a winner and a loser. And in life, and other countries view it like that as well. Russia's always trying to compete with the United States. China's always trying to compete with us, and there's always going to be a winner and a loser. And we need to keep going. We need to be the champions, man. We just can't just allow ourselves to quit. We can't in anything we do. In anything. That's the way I view. And you know, so because I always think about it like this: in war, because that's. We've been doing it. We've been masters. The human race has been masters of war. There's always been a winner or a loser. Don't want to take it to that level, but you have to view it like that in anything you do.
Interesting, because do you remember the military recruitment videos of they compared the Russian military recruitment video to the American Army, the United States Army recruitment video? Do you remember this? This was like a couple months ago. So long story short,
Russia came out with this, or
no? Like this was just in social media. Like there was, you know, the Army, the U.S. Army has like their recruitment video, like, you know, like a commercial, and then the Russian Army has like their recruitment video. And when you watched the Russian Army's like, you know, commercial, it's like this jack dude. Right, and he's like doing push-ups, lifting weights, you know, running the course, puts on his gear, gets his rifle, gets in like the big like C-130 style plane. You know, all the other dudes are there, and they're jumping out of the plane, like, and they land parachute. They're in the snow, like toughing it out. He gets on the thing, bolt action rifle. He's like ready for war, and then like the advertisement's over. And then you go to the U.S. Army commercial, and it's like a cartoon, and it's the pier in Venice Beach in Los Angeles, and it's like, I don't know who I really was when I was a kid, and you know, my parents didn't accept me, and now, you know, I've joined the United States Army, and you know, they're accepting of, you know, me not knowing if like what gender I am or whatnot, and she's marrying like a woman in the thing.
Is this real?
I swear to God, bro. And again, I have no problem with that. like, if you don't, if you're transgender, if you're gay, whatever. And it's like, it was like the commercial was very like sunshine and rainbows, and how the
in comparison to
the army, U.S. Army is very like accepting, diverse, inclusive, equity, etc. And it's just like, okay, what does that have to do with like killing people though? Like, your job is and I don't want, me, I'm like anti-interventionist, whatever, but like the military's one job is to just kill people. That's it. It's not a social experiment. The Russian military, you could clearly see they got to focus on our job is to just kill people, and that's what our job is. We don't care about your personal feelings or whatever. So that was like seeing two extremes, which was odd. A friend of ours I brought it up to was like, well, yeah, when you think about it though, if you think about it this way, he's like, the Russian soldier doesn't even know what he's fighting for or what he's there to do. It's like, but at least he's like, the U.S. Army side is like, look, you could be whoever you want to be, and like you kind of know what you're fighting for. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
When you think about it, but let's be real. Do you think the Army really gives a shit about that? It's just a fucking recruiting video to try and like trick people into
That's why
join us because we're inclusive.
When you go to a boot camp, they break you the fuck down. They take all that shit, and that shit don't matter. That's all outside noise. Whatever
it's
you know, they don't fucking care.
It's good marketing.
They don't care. They don't care. Like, what's that movie called? Because I came from a military family, so I've heard a lot of boot camp stories and stuff. And what's that movie? Full Metal Jacket. He's like, I don't care if you're white, black, brown, yellow, you are now green. And that's it.
Right.
That's it. There's no color. There's no whatever. I don't know first of all, who cares if you're a trans person, if you're gay, if you're straight, and you want to serve your country?
Right. That's great.
Yeah. Who gives a fuck? You're serving your country. You're making the ultimate sacrifice. Good for you. Who the fuck are we to be like, oh, well, and women too. Like, listen, in Russia during Stalingrad in World War II,
the women snipers.
Were fucking, they came through.
Mm-hmm. Right. Who are you to criticize someone who's willing to go put their life on the line to defend your life? You know what I mean? Like, if you're
especially people like in the government, like Congress and stuff, like, who the fuck are you? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm serving. No, this is two different type of serving. Mm-hmm. Okay. You're here to make these laws and make these, we don't want transgenders in the military. You're serving and that person's serving, two complete different things.
Right.
If he wants to sacrifice his life for this country, for the greater good of this country in the future, who the fuck are you?
Right. I agree.
Even if you're in Congress, I don't give a fuck.
Right. So here, I agree with you 100%. Right. Here's my point: is that they know that's a great marketing strategy, so they can use that to appeal to people, to like the CIA, the Army, whatever, the FBI, to appeal to people. Look how diverse we are. Look how inclusive we are. It's great. We love everybody. And they could use that as a shield to justify the never-ending wars, the foreign interventionalists, regime change. Well, you can't criticize us. You're a racist. This organization is made up of multiple backgrounds of gay people, trans people, etc. You can't criticize what we're doing. Are you a racist? You can't criticize us drone bombing a bunch of terrorists in Iraq because the people behind the controls are black people. How dare you?
Yeah.
The Secretary of Defense is a black guy. You can't criticize him anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not about race. It's about protecting investments, protecting interests, and using that shit as a shield to protect yourself from any criticism of it.
Yeah.
And the people who are criticizing you don't hate those things. They don't hate they're not like let's just use me and Chris for an example. We of course have no problem with transgender people, black people, whatever. We hate war and profiteering and corporatism and stuff, but they've used those things as a shield to now shield themselves from any criticism.
Yes.
That's the problem. It's a brilliant strategy.
But like you said, the military's sole job, their primary objective is to kill. It's literally, let's call it for what it is. Like that's their job.
Right, but
so it's because it's funny because all these progressive ideals of, being inclusive, Obama and Biden's bombed
more than anybody.
any president.
It was very. Hey, they didn't discriminate. They just bombed the fuck out of everybody.
How do you explain that? And then didn't recently Joe Biden just get like a bigger budget?
He also launched attacks on Somalia.
But he got a bigger military budget too.
Yeah, of course, right? Because it's the way this is all a scam.
That's why I love the picture of when he came into office and he just immediately bombed Syria.
Right.
I think it was Syria, right? Mm-hmm. And you had the C-130. It's like the regular C-130. And then on the bottom is a C-130 that had the gay pride flag, the Black Lives Matter.
Right.
And then it's
except for the ones you're blowing up.
Yeah, so you're talking about civil rights, but they're bombing the shit out of fucking other countries.
It's all a shield. It's just all a shield.
I think we're all done with war. I think every single citizen can agree.
I do think that there's a majority in terms of that, definitely, but not a super majority. You see, there's articles all the time of we can't pull out of Afghanistan because
they got to get paid. They're getting paid probably.
That'll be a loss for women's rights because the Taliban are going to rape women there. We've been there for 20 fucking years and we've only made things worse. No. Leave.
Yeah, like that.
That's all like propaganda. That's like reverse psychology propaganda.
Yeah, like the recent article came out that like, ISIS is now a threat or Taliban's now a threat still. Listen, get the fuck out.
Yeah.
Just get the fuck out.
I do think you're right. Like most people are not falling for that anymore. Most people.
Just get the fuck out. Why are we there? First of all, why are we the police of all these nations?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out. People are still our men and women are still dying for what?
For what? We don't even know. The objective's not clear, right? And we only made things worse. I'm keeping a very close eye on that whole situation because we're supposed to pull it by 9/11, and I don't buy it. I don't buy it. Even if they do,
it's not happening.
I don't see. It's going to happen.
You said it last year, I think it was, or when Trump was still in office, where Trump was literally trying to get every single boots off the ground.
They lied to him about the levels of troops.
Yes.
I also think we're going to see, and if Biden does manage to bring all the soldiers out of the Middle East and bring them home, I will give him credit for it, right? But I don't believe it. I don't believe it because I'm already starting to see things over how they're going to like redesignate personnel that's there. So you have. I think it's like in Iraq. I made on recent episodes of ours. You have like 2,500 soldiers left, maybe in Iraq. Well, we could just designate them all sanitation workers, and they're not soldiers. They're not military. They give them all broom, and now they're all sanitation workers. Now you can say, look, we brought all troops home, but there really is still 2,500 soldiers there. Or you could. There was another article pointing of how they're looking to logistically like move forces into friendly nations next door to Iraq and Afghanistan. Well, did you really bring them home then? No, you just moved them across the street. They could still strike and the war will still continue. They're going to look to like bullshit everybody and say, 9/11, we brought all the troops home. But, they gave them all brooms and they moved the other half across the street so they could justify it. Just like back in way, way long ago when Bush was president and the war in Iraq was over. Do you remember he went on the aircraft carrier and he had the mission accomplished thing and he said, mission accomplished, that's it, we won.
Yeah.
We won, right?
Yeah.
What the fuck are we still doing there? I thought mission was accomplished.
2021.
It's the same thing,
fucking
bro.
thing in Vietnam. In Vietnam, that was the worst. Mm-hmm. Vietnam was the worst because they were telling people here, yeah, we're fucking them up. We're really going to win this one. We're winning. We're winning. No, we didn't win. Bro, we lost 60,000 fucking people.
Right.
In that fucking war.
We didn't win that war. No, we lost that war.
We lost that war. But over here,
they were propaganda.
They were saying that we were winning. They were lying. There was a movie that came out. I forgot what the movie was called. It was with Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is a writer, and he found out that we weren't winning. Yeah. Like we were literally.
America is not. We're not so self-righteous or immune to government propaganda. Even using the nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki were completely unjustified in war crimes. That. Truman and etc. should be remembered as war criminals for such because like the justification was, well, the Japanese are never going to surrender if we don't use overblown force against them. Mm-hmm. No, there was conversations documented amongst military leaders and the Japanese were they were starting to lean towards surrender. Most of the military generals of the time, I think even LeMay, or maybe not LeMay, but a lot of the people in charge at the time wrote a letter advising Truman against the use of the bomb. Of the Japanese are going to surrender. There's no need to use it. It's too powerful. It'll kill too many people. And they still used it anyway. Why? Because politically, strong man.
Did you ever see the YouTube video of the general talking about in Iraq after 9/11 that they came up was like, it looks like we're going to Iraq, and he goes, why?
Yes. Well, he didn't know, but we have a really strong military, so they just want to use it for something.
It's like, do we know why? No.
So my whole point was we're not immune to propaganda. The use of the nukes was not justified, and propaganda has made you believe that it was justified.
Because
that's actually why if you watch me and Chris's opening scroll, I have a video of Nagasaki in there because that's the second bomb, completely unjustified, just like as a perspective thing. Yeah.
It's funny how we were the first ones to use an atomic bomb.
And the only ones.
Not once, but twice.
Yeah.
But now try to prevent other people from
And we use them on civilian populations in cities, not a military target.
Have you ever seen that video when they were testing it in Nevada and they had GI troops in front of the blast? Have you ever seen that?
Maybe
they sent
not real people. Were they like fake people or real people?
Real people. Have you ever seen that video? Mm-mm. If you could pull up on YouTube, it's like a quick video. It's not even that long. It's these troops literally in the desert, and they sent a fucking nuclear bomb in the desert, and you had all these troops literally staring at this mushroom cloud, and they were right there. It's one of the craziest videos I've ever seen. I'll post it up. There we go. As guinea pigs. These guys definitely all died.
Enlisted is the free brand new online World War II shooter. Command a squad of soldiers and participate in legendary
YouTube and their ads.
Yeah. It's funny because we are about to watch a video over soldiers being used as pawns or guinea pigs in a nuclear test, and the advertisement before it was a game about war. Yeah, a video game about war. Yeah, shows you how brainwashed our culture has become.
So I'm assuming these are Marines.
Probably they're the toughest motherfuckers around. So they don't know.
Because they don't know.
Right.
They don't know the effects of the bomb.
This is crazy, dude.
Look at this. Look, they're gonna drop a fucking bomb in front of all these fucking guys. A nuclear bomb.
I guess they're trying to simulate the effects of a nuclear bomb on military, like in a reinforced position, maybe. I mean, it's pretty far away. They're not in any immediate danger.
It's pretty bad, bro. I wouldn't want to be there.
It's pretty bad, yeah.
And they're going towards it. That's crazy.
I get it. They're trying to... Nuclear bombs were new at this time, so they were trying to figure out like how to use them. They literally thought that they were going to be using nukes all the time, like in war and whatnot. It wasn't... what really stopped them was the fact that other countries got nukes now, so they're going to use them back. But I guarantee you, if no other country, like if the Soviets didn't steal the plans for the nukes from us, we would have fucking used those shits in multiple other wars and just completely pounded other countries into submission to like.
But that's how advanced their science was. That the technology wasn't even close to dealing with that because they didn't have no Geiger meters or anything to realize like, hey, this is really bad for humans. I mean, they probably had an idea that it was going to be bad, but to the extreme that. A bomb like that.
Yeah.
Did you ever seen that fucking show? What was it? In Ukraine? No, what was it? Ukraine? Chernobyl.
What, the HBO?
The HBO show.
Yeah, the HBO documentary. It was fantastic.
The first firefighters that just showed up, gone.
Yeah, but see, they understood. That's a product of just terrible communist bureaucracy leadership.
I agree with that.
Putting people in jeopardy, like. Like I know you're saying that the firefighters showed up at the nuclear power plant Chernobyl to put out the fire, and the bureaucrats in control told them everything's fine, it's completely safe, go in there and put out the fire. I remember there's the scene of the one firefighter who's like I taste metal. He's like, I didn't get anything in my mouth. He's like, why do I taste metal? And he touches like a rock, on the ground, and when he lifts up his hand's all burnt. And he's like, the rock wasn't hot. What the fuck? He's like panicking, whatever. Because they sent them into an exposed nuclear reactor, and they were exposed to like an insane amount of radiation. What's crazy about that, dude, is those firefighters' uniforms are still in there, still in there because they made them, change and derobe in the basement, and their uniforms are so radioactive that they're still exactly where those guys dropped them. To this day, they're like off the charts with the Geiger meter. Like no one could pick them up or touch them because why would you risk yourself? But that just proves how like disgusting. This also proves how disgusting the state can be in terms of like the way it treats people, its soldiers. The same thing with the Soviet Union, sending firefighters into a fucking open nuclear reactor. This is the problem with the state, right? The state. Yeah. It's not the president who's sitting there in that trench.
Someone's ordering this to happen,
or the leader, right? The person who ordered this
not the president,
right? It's not that bureaucrat in the Soviet Union who ordered this test to happen at Chernobyl that went in there to clean it up. No, it's the grunts, the firemen, the soldiers. They're the ones,
the small guys.
Right.
Like send them in and whatever, and then we'll figure it out. Whatever outcome happens in the future, like, it's crazy.
Right? What do you give a shit? It's the same thing today. Same thing today.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is a perfect way to end the episode. Thank you.
That's crazy, dude. I've never seen that video before.
It's wild. Awesome. I saw it and I was like, "There's no way. This can't be real."
I'm gonna rewatch the whole thing.
A mushroom cloud. Yeah. Like, I would be terrified if I even know what that was. If I didn't know the technology, anything behind that,
right,
and I saw that happen in front of my face, because that mushroom cloud is huge. Even if they're far away, that's still fucking terrifying. Yeah. That's terrifying.
It is.
Because you don't even, and then you have the afterblast, you have everything else.
Shockwave, right, the radiation.
Bro, it's crazy. But thank you for allowing us to use this beautiful studio.
Me, you, and the ghosts here.
Yeah, I'm going to try to Photoshop them in. All right. Yeah, thank you, Kat, for being on. No, but thank you for doing this. I appreciate it.
Having me again.
Yeah, you can find Two Do Men where?
Linktree.com/2domen. We're on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Rumble.com for a video there also. Yeah, check us out. We talk about politics a lot. We also review cool shit. Guns, movies, beer, etc. Fun times.
Yep. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, bro.
No problem.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the Last Slice Podcast. Thank you very much and have a good day. Goodbye.
Cheers.